Welcome back, it's Mr. St.Romain. We are today going to be looking at activity 5 on the website, and that is masking. Masking is used to show or hide part of an animation. Think of it like one of those frames at Walmart where you go to the photo album area, the photos aisle, and they've got a frame with like cutouts of shapes or words or whatever, and you put your photo in the back of that frame, and you can only see the cutout. Say it's a heart shape, you only see the heart. The image is still there, but it's masked, it's hidden by that matting that's in front of it. So we're going to do a similar thing. We can create masks of any shape, and then we can use those shapes to hide or show what we want to be seen through our animation. So let's take a look at how that happens. Clicking here, get our instructions. I like to move this over here so we can follow along and open up Flash. All right, so first we're going to create a new Flash file. Here's our file. Create a rectangle with an orange fill. I'm going to go to my rectangle tool. I'm going to change my fill color to be this orange. And I'm going to use the, let's make that rectangle. There we go. Using the info palette, set the width to 150 and the height to 300. Here's where we are. Okay. To do that, I've got to have it selected. So I use my selection tool, I double click, and then I go to the info palette, which is this guy here, the little tourist information guy, and I'm going to change it to be 150 by 300. That's pretty close. Okay, and you'll see that that changes. Okay, I can actually drag this if I wanted to do that as well. Okay, the little arrow shows up, and you get to change that. You can also change X and Y position here. Okay. For now, we're not going to worry about that. Turn that rectangle into a graphic symbol called orange rectangle. Right click or choose from the top menu, modify, convert to symbol. A graphic symbol, okay, so it's a graphic, and we're going to call it orange rectangle. It's good practice not to put any spaces between your names, so let's just call that orange underscore rectangle. Okay, great. Position orange rectangle at the top left of your stage. Pretty close. All right. And rename the layer rectangle. Double click the name. Rectangle. Insert a keyframe on frame 30. Okay, there's frame 1. We're going to go to frame 30. Right click. Insert keyframe, or go to your insert timeline keyframe. There's our next keyframe. In frame 30, move the rectangle to the right side of the stage. So here, not here, but here, I'm going to move this guy over. If I hold shift, it'll stay in the same position. If I let go of shift, I can move it anywhere I want. But if I want it to stay in the exact same horizontal plane, I hold shift and it'll stay in that plane and won't let me do it. You can also do the same thing down or on a 45-degree angle, okay, by holding shift or up in different positions. But you see it snaps into those axes. All right, so I want that to go over there. Great. Okay, that's number 8. Number 9, add a classic tween between frames 1 and 30. Right click, insert, create classic tween. Great. Scrub through your timeline to see the animation. We just did that. Okay, this is called scrubbing through, in case you're not sure of that already. Add a new layer and name it oval. Down here, I'm going to click on my new layer, double click the name, type oval. Draw a large oval over the entire surface of the stage. I'm going to go to my oval tool, click up here, and I'm going to draw in this layer. Notice that this is the layer that I'm going to be drawing on. If I did something here, if I came to this layer and made this active and I started drawing, what would happen is I would make it would cause an error. It's actually not going to let me do it because I'm not on a keyframe. But even if I were on a keyframe and I started drawing, that would mess up Flash, because Flash right now is animating between this frame and this frame with one item on the stage, which is this. There's only one item in these keyframes. That's easy enough to do. As soon as I put something else in that keyframe, it creates an error. So make sure you are on the oval layer before you start drawing, which you should be. There's my oval. Wonderful. And that's on the oval layer. Using the info palette, set the height and width of this oval to 250 height and 500 width. Okay, so you should know how to do that. Go to your selection tool, double click to make sure you have the whole thing selected. Change your width, it's pretty bang on, and my height, sorry, to, what did it say there? 250. It's pretty close. That's impressive. Nonetheless, using the align panel, align the oval to the center of the stage. Align panel. There's your align panel. If you don't see it there, you can also go and grab it by going window, align, and it'll pop open for you. Okay, there it is. And I want it to align to the center of the stage, so I have to make sure that this guy is clicked. Otherwise, it won't do anything. If I had 2 items selected, it would align them to each other, but I only have 1, so I need to align to the stage, and I need to snap it to the center of the stage. Right. Right-click the name of the oval. Sorry, where are we? We're here. Great. 14. Right-click the name of the oval and select Mask from the drop-down. Okay, so here on your layers, where it says oval, right-click, and you'll see that this dialog box shows up, or the right-click menu, and you can click on Mask. And watch what happens when I do that. Watch what happens here. Right now, these are both just plain layers with no special treatment. It's just, this is the new layer icon. When I right-click and I say Mask, you see it changed suddenly. Now this shows a rectangle with a circle in it and a layer with a circle in it. And this has now been indented. What's happened is it's said this layer, because I right-clicked and said make this a layer, mask. It did that, and it applied that mask to the layer below it. And you'll see that that's been reflected here in your timeline, in your stage, I should say. And when you animate through, what's happening is that rectangle, which is still there, just like the photo in the Walmart frame, it's still there. The difference being it's being masked or hidden by the shape. Now I happen to draw an oval for my shape. I can make it any shape I'd like to. Right, there's that oval. So what's going to happen is it's going to show me only that oval. I can make that a heart, I can make it letters, I can make it whatever I wanted to. I can make it a random polygon, whatever you want. Okay, and what's going to happen is that is simply moving across like we did when we scrubbed through our timeline earlier, except it's happening behind an oval mask. Great. 15. Turn off the visibility of the mask layer. Okay, so here's our mask layer, our oval. I'm going to turn that off. Add a new layer between the 2 existing layers by making rectangle layer active and then clicking the Make New Layer button. Rename your layer circle. So I need to put a layer between these 2. I want something else to be on another layer, and I want it to have the mask applied to it. If I have this layer selected and I click Make New Layer, it's going to add it above. I don't want that. What I want to do is I want to be on this layer and click, and it adds it above, and you'll notice the icon is the same as this icon. You notice when I did it from here, when I added a new layer, it was just a regular layer. But this has created a layer inside of my mask. So anything I draw here is going to have that same mask applied to it, that oval mask, which we can't see right now because it's off. But this will apply to that animation, or whatever's on this layer. Name your new layer Circle. Right click, double click, Circle. On this layer, create a blue circle graphic. So it's got to be a symbol, graphic symbol, and animate it across the screen like you did with the rectangle. So you do the same thing we just did. I'm going to start here in frame 1. I'm going to create a circle, and maybe I'll have it over here. It's supposed to be blue, so I'm going to change my fill color to blue. Blue. Okay, and I'm going to double click, right click it, and say convert. I want to double click so I don't only have the fill. I need that outer stroke too. Double click, everything selected, right click, convert to symbol. It's going to be called, surprisingly, circle, and it's going to be a graphic. Okay? Okay, great. On this layer, create, we just did that, and animate it across the screen. So it starts here and ends up over here. I need a finishing state. I can't just move this, otherwise I'm moving it in this first frame, right? I only have this frame, this keyframe. I've got to be doing it at this point and this point. So let's undo that. That's its starting point. That's where it is at the beginning of this movie, right? I need to say starting point, end point. Right click, insert keyframe to say, hey Flash, something important is going to happen. It's going to be the end point of my animation. Move this into place, holding shift, and then you can see that this is my end point. this is my beginning point. It stays like this until it pops into that end point here, because this is where it changes. I'm going to right click and add a classic tween, and now we have that animation happening. And you'll notice if I turn this off and say right click show masking, you can see that that mask is applying to those two layers because they are indented and they're applied here. Okay? Great. Alright, I'm going to actually turn this back off. I'm going to turn the visibility off here, and we're good to go here. And we'll log these. Okay, so there's our animation. So far, so good, I hope. Oh, I just see this. I keep talking out of turn. Turn the visibility back on for the layer named oval. So we'll turn this back on. Great, there's the oval. Right click the circle layer and select show masking from the drop down. I should just follow my own instructions. Right click, show masking, and like I just said, you see that the animation of those two layers is applied to the layers below the mask. Great, next, 20. Let's move this up a little bit so we can see where we are. Turn the visibility off on the oval layer, okay? Turn that off, there's your eyeball, visibility off. Add a new layer between the oval, add a new layer between the oval layer and the circle layer and name it curvy line between the oval layer and the circle layer. So I need a layer right here. So I've got to, if I click here, it's going to put it above. I don't want that. I want it down here. Click on new layer and it puts it between. Okay. I'm going to double click it and call it curvy line. My U just exploded on my keyboard. There we go. Curvy line. Super. Select the pencil tool. There's my pencil tool. Make sure that the smooth option, I keep clicking my right click, I'm sorry. Make sure that the smooth option is on at the bottom of the toolbar. You notice with the pencil that there's this little tool here. Make sure this is off. If this is on, if that's clicked, make sure it's off. It should never really be on for what we're doing. Okay, so leave that off. We're looking at this guy here, pencil mode. There are three, straight, smooth, and ink, and they're going to do kind of exactly what you expect. So with straight, when I draw with my pencil, if I'm even close to straight, it's going to straighten it for me. Okay? If I try and make a rectangle or a square, it's going to turn it into straight lines for me because Flash says, oh, you're probably trying to draw a square. If I try and draw a triangle, it's going to say, there you go. If I try and draw a circle, it's going to do its best to fix those things for me. Undo, 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 undo. This is smooth, so if I draw a line that looks like this, Flash is going to say, oh, you're probably trying to make that a nice smooth line. You don't want those ripples in there. See those little like jagged bits? It's going to fix that for me. Sometimes I do want those jagged bits, in which case you want ink, and then it's going to do exactly what you left there. Okay? Super. Make sure that the smooth option is on. Okay? Make sure that smooth option is on. Draw a curvy line that will work as a motion guide. This is an important name, remember it. Okay, we're going to draw a curvy line on our curvy line layer here using our pencil tool. It's going to act as a motion guide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start maybe over here, and I'm just going to draw kind of a curvy line sort of like this. I mean, when I let go, Flash is going to smooth it out. Thank you very much, Flash. That's beautiful. You did a good job there, Flash. And I'm going to move on. Unlock all layers. Okay. All my layers. You can actually do that by clicking here at the top, and you can see it locks all or unlocks all. Okay, so if I have a couple of them on like this, I can say, you know what, unlock all of them. Make the move tool your active tool and make sure snap is turned on. All right, the move tool. I should actually call that the select tool, but that's the tool we're talking about. Okay, the selection tool there. You're going to make that active, and you're going to make sure that the snap magnet is on. We want that on. Okay. In frame 1, snap the center of the, that should say blue, of the blue circle to one end of the motion guide. So in frame 1, snap the center of this guy. I'm going to move it. Notice where it was right there. It was kind of right on the line. If I pick that up, it's, see how the icon turns to curve? I'm actually just going to move that out of the way a little bit. Okay, so I just pick it up from sort of an edge, like over here. I'm going to snap this center to the end of this line. I can do the same thing in frame 30, snap the center of the blue circle to the other end of the guide. Okay, so frame 30, And I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to snap it to the end there. Now, let's scrub through our animation. Nothing's changed. It's going from this end to this end, right? It looks exactly the same as it did, except now there's like a curvy line in front of it. No big deal. Scrub through, nothing has changed. Bring the circle layer to the top of the layers list. The circle layer. I'm going to bring this to the top of the layers list. Okay. I'm going to double click my curvy line, select the entire graphic. Okay, so double click that curvy line. Okay, and choose Edit, Cut. Edit, Cut. And it's going to get rid of it. No, it's not. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong application. Try that again. Double click this, Edit, Cut. Gets rid of it. You'll notice it emptied out my keyframes because there's nothing on this frame anymore. I just cut it. You're now going to delete this layer. Okay, we don't need this layer anymore. Right click, delete layer, or you can just click on the garbage can here and it will get rid of that for you. Okay. Make the circle layer. Now remember, you've still got that curvy line in your clipboard, right? I just cut it, so it's on my clipboard. If I paste, you see that it's. I probably shouldn't paste, but let's say I create a new layer here and I paste it. There, it's still there. I just want to undo that. Don't do that. Just making a point. Okay, make the circle layer the active layer by clicking on the name circle. Click on the layer circle, and add a guide layer by right-clicking the circle layer and selecting Add Classic Motion Guide from the drop-down. Okay, so I'm going to right-click this, and you'll see here it says Add Classic Motion Guide. I'm going to do that, and watch what happens to the icons. Okay, Add Classic Motion Guide. Okay, it indented this, and it added this icon for the layer. This is saying that this is a special type of layer, and this special type of layer is a guide, and it's applied to this circle. Place your mouse on the first frame of the guide layer and choose Edit, Paste, and Place. So the first frame of the guide layer, which is this layer, not here, but this one, and I want to click here, and I want to right-click anywhere in here. I can actually do, oh, hold on, no. I'm going to do this another way. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to say Edit, Paste, and Place. And now I could probably do this from right-clicking over here, but the problem is if I click something else, it's going to give me this contextual menu. So just to make things really clear, and make it work properly, click on this layer in frame 1, and then go through the main file menu of Edit, Paste, and Place. Normally you'd use a keyboard shortcut to do that, which is this, but we'll go through the long way. All right, and it pasted it in exactly the same place. And you'll see that this blue circle lines up, the center is still in the same spot as it was because it snapped to that center. And hopefully at the end, again, this is still in that same spot because we placed this in exactly the same place as it was. Let's scrub through the timeline and see the animation. The blue circle should follow the guideline. So let's try that. Great. That line that was a guide is applied to our circle layer. This is where we have our curly line that we pasted in place. This is where we have our circle. And because this guide applies to this layer that has animated circle on it, that guide follows, that circle animation follows that guide. Now I can actually change this by clicking here. If I click anywhere here and I change my guide, you'll see that it's going to modify the path that it follows. It'll just keep on following that path. Now I think you can probably ruin it by like that. That's not going to work. Oh, it does work. Shut my mouth. Anyways, we don't want that, so let's just put it back as it was. And you see that's working pretty well. All right, great. So we just did, where are we? We are here. We just checked it and it did work. Now, 28, click the name of the circle layer. All frames on this layer become selected. Click the name of this name here, circle layer, and all the frames become selected. Okay. The reason we're going to do this is let's try this. Take the guide, click on the guide layer, hold shift and click on the circle layer and drag this into the mask so that it applies to this mask. And you'll see that it's not letting me do it. Right? If I go here and say show masking, you see it'll mask that rectangle, but I can't add these in here. It won't. You can't mask a guide layer. So we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to kind of cheat the system a bit. And this comes from practicing with Flash and learning what you can and can't do, and then sort of thinking through some problem solving to get yourself to a point where you can use what you know to do what you need to do. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to, now that we've animated this guide and everything is following the path as we want it to, that circle follows the path properly, we're actually going to cheat the system and add a bunch of keyframes in the position that that ball is in on each frame. So watch what happens. I click on circle, as it says here, click on the name circle. All the frames on this layer become selected. Okay, so I hit this. Then hit F6 on my keyboard. Let me go back to this. F6. What happened? It just added a keyframe in every position along those 30 frames. Let me undo that and do that again. While I've got this selected, I hit F6 and it puts keyframes through all of this, which means now these keyframes, these frames, remember the exact position of the ball at each of these frames. What that means is I no longer need my guide. So I used my guide to create the motion that I wanted. And say I wanted something a bit smoother or more complicated, I could do that, and then I lock it down by adding these keyframes. Okay, now I've got a bunch of animation here. I can probably just right-click and say remove tween. It'll get rid of those purple graphics because we don't need the tween between there anymore. And I can actually, let's go here, delete the layer guide circle. I can delete this now. Right-click, delete layer, because I don't need that animation anymore to follow the guide because I added all those keyframes in that are remembering the exact position for each of these positions in each frame. Okay, a little bit of a cheat, but it means that now what can I do? I can take that, move that circle layer to underneath the oval so the mask is applied. So I take this, I drop it down in here, and you can see it indents a little bit, and now it's going to apply. It allows me to drag that in here. I turn on my visibility for all layers. I'm gonna go here. Turn on my visibility, lock on my layers, and now you can see we've added a guide to an animation. Okay, and that animation is under a mask. Okay, hit return on your keyboard and you can see that happen. And if you command enter, you can render it and see that it worked just fine. How do we use this? We'll approach some of, I mean, this is not a very useful animation. I doubt that you're ever going to get a job making a moving rectangle on a moving circle. But you can use this to apply some of these skills to, problem solve various sort of tasks and problems you're going to come across while animating. And maybe we'll approach some of those in class with specifics. The animated Hyundai graphic, which I can show you. If we take a look at this here, this animation actually, what you can see here is we've got an animated mask. So I've got 3 layers happening in this graphic, in this flash movie here. One is yellow, and I can show you that. I've got a red version of this thing. So I've got a red version, which is back there. I've got a yellow top version, which is just that background, and I've got yellow. And what happens is I've got a mask that is animated here, and that mask just is on a loop and continues moving, showing through or not showing through the red and the yellow layer, which is essentially the same thing we've done here, except applied in a useful way. Okay, hopefully that's useful.